You wake up tired even after 8 hours of sleep. You have your coffee and it feels like you've already spent half the day's energy. You look at your schedule and the weight settles in before the first task even begins. This isn't work fatigue. This is the fatigue of a war you keep fighting within yourself, even after it's over. Before anything else, I need to tell you something important. If this exhaustion has been constant for weeks and months, see a doctor. Anemia, thyroid problems, sleep apnea, clinical depression, these are real causes, common in Brazilians over 35, and no video replaces a blood test and professional evaluation. Do that. Take care of your body. But there's a fatigue that no test can detect, a fatigue that comes from carrying battles you weren't called to fight, a spiritual exhaustion from fighting a war that deep down has already been decided, and it's this specific exhaustion we'll talk about now. In the next few minutes, I'll show you 3 things. First, why you feel in constant combat even on days when seemingly nothing is happening. Second, what theological error, and almost no one realizes it's theological, causes God-fearing people to live more exhausted than people without any faith. And third, how to enter the rest that was already won for you 2,000 years ago in a place called Calvary, without needing to manufacture any new victories. If you stay with me until the end, you'll leave this video knowing how to clearly distinguish which battle is yours and which battle you're fighting out of habit, fear, or a wrong theology that no one taught you how to correct. There's a scene in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, that seems simple but is an exact portrait of what happens to you. Martha receives Jesus at her home. She's the homeowner, she's responsible, she's the woman who makes things happen. And while Jesus is sitting in the living room talking, Martha runs around. Martha cooks, Martha serves, Martha organizes, Martha carries, and at a certain point, she explodes.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you, who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
She looks at Jesus and says, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone?" Notice the word, to serve. Martha wasn't doing anything wrong. She was working for Jesus. She was wearing herself out for a good cause, and yet the answer she hears is one of the most revealing phrases in the entire Bible. Jesus says, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary, and Mary has chosen the good portion. You are Martha, and I don't say this to diminish you. I say this because your exhaustion has the same name. You're wearing yourself out, most of the time, for good things, for responsibilities you took on thinking you were doing the right thing, for battles that seemed like a spiritual duty. And meanwhile, the portion that was meant to be yours, the portion of simply being in His presence, receiving, resting, lies abandoned in a corner of the room. In Greek, the word Luke uses to describe Martha is merimnao, merimnao. It means to be torn to pieces. It's the soul fragmented into 1,000 simultaneous worries. You recognize this state. It's the feeling of always being half here, half there, with your mind in 3 places at once, unable to fully commit to anything. And the opposite of this, in the Greek of the New Testament, is a word Jesus uses in Matthew chapter 11, verse 29, anapausis, anapausis, rest for the soul. It's not taking a vacation. It's not sleeping more. It's an internal state where the soul stops being fragmented and reunites around one single necessary thing. Researchers at the University of São Paulo in the Institute of Psychology have been documenting a phenomenon in recent years that they call existential hypervigilance. It's the state in which the nervous system remains on combat alert, even in the absence of real and immediate threats. The body releases cortisol as if you were fleeing from a lion, but the lion doesn't exist. You're just paying a bill on your banking app. You're just replying to an email. You're just taking a shower. And yet the body treats each of these tasks as if they were life or death decisions. Fiocruz, in studies published on mental health in the Brazilian post-pandemic context, has identified that people over 35 show significantly higher rates of this type of silent exhaustion, and it doesn't subside with sleep, vacations, massage, or anything external. Because the source of the fatigue is not external. The source is a soul that hasn't yet learned to stop fighting. And here comes the first micro-revelation that perhaps no one has told you like this. If you subscribe to the channel now and activate notifications, you'll understand, over the next episodes, why so many God-fearing Brazilians, people who pray, people who attend church, people who give their best for their families and work, live more tired than convinced atheists. It's not a lack of faith, it's the wrong kind of faith. It's a faith that confuses effort with obedience. And it's precisely this error we're going to dismantle now. There's an ancient theological problem, truly ancient, that specifically affects those who take their faith seriously. The Apostle Paul confronted it head-on in his letter to the Galatians. The believers in that region had started well. They had received the gospel of grace. They had understood that salvation didn't come from human effort, but from what Christ had already done. And then, after some time, they began to feel that it wasn't enough. That more was needed. That more rules, more sacrifice, more struggle, more demonstration of merit were required. And Paul writes that phrase that transcends centuries. Having begun in the spirit, are you now being perfected by the flesh? In the original Greek, sarx, the word flesh, doesn't mean the physical body. It means autonomous human effort, the attempt to achieve by force what has already been given by grace. This is your error, and it's so subtle that you don't even realize you're making it. You were taught somewhere along the way that a mature spiritual life is an intense spiritual life. That true prayer is prayer that hurts. That true fasting is fasting that destroys. That serving God means wearing yourself out for God. And this idea, though it seems pious, is the exact opposite of what the gospel teaches. Jesus didn't come to give you a heavier job. Jesus came to give you rest. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Notice the logic. Christ calls you by offering a yoke, but his yoke, according to him, is light. The fatigue you feel is evidence that you are, in fact, under another yoke, a yoke that is not his, a yoke of expectations, of religious self-demand, of fear disguised as zeal. In the Hebrew of the Old Testament, there's an even older and deeper word for this kind of rest, emenvi-ha, menucha. It's the word that appears in Psalm 23 when David says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside quiet waters." The quiet waters in the original are waters of menucha, waters of rest. And menucha in Hebrew is not just the absence of movement. It's the presence of a fullness that makes movement unnecessary. It's rest as abundance, not as lack. It's the repose of someone who has arrived home, not a pause for someone tired in the middle of the road. Research conducted by the neuroscience department at UNIFESP shows that the human brain, when operating in a state of menucha, although scientists use different terms, the functional concept is the same, activates brain networks associated with creativity, cellular repair, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation. And when the brain operates in the opposite state, in chronic hypervigilance, all these functions are suppressed. In other words, the more you fight, the less you develop. The more you battle unnecessarily, the less your mind, your body, and your soul can do the real work that needed to be done. The Federal Council of Psychology has been warning in publications aimed at mental health professionals about the phenomenon of spiritualized burnout. People who come to therapy unable to name the problem because they think they are being strong in faith, and in reality they are paying a very high biological price for a misguided theology. The root cause then is this: You've confused your part with God's part. Your part is to receive, trust, obey, remain. God's part is to win. And when you take on God's part, you break yourself. It's like a private deciding on his own to win the entire war alone. The result is exhaustion, frustration, and the painful feeling that no matter how hard you try, it's never enough. Because, in fact, it never will be. It's in this wrong logic that you've spent so many years, and it's from this logic that you will now escape. Before continuing, if this video is touching you, give it a like. It's not for my vanity. It's just a simple way for the algorithm to understand that this kind of deep content needs to reach more Brazilians like you, who are tired of empty struggle and want to find the path to true rest. In John chapter 19, verse 30, a word is recorded, a single word in the original Greek that Christ spoke on the cross shortly before bowing his head. In Portuguese, we translate it as, "It is finished," but in the original, it's just one word, tetelestai tetelestai. And this word needs to be understood exactly as it appeared in the 1st century Greek for you to feel the weight of what was said. Tetelestai was a commercial term. When a Roman paid a debt in a shop or the forum, the creditor would write tetelestai on the bill. It meant fully paid, settled. There's nothing more to pay. It was also the word used when a servant finished a task assigned by the master. He would return and say tetelestai, indicating that the mission had been completed in its entirety, with no pending issues. And it was the term used by priests when they inspected a lamb for sacrifice and declared it perfect, without blemish, complete. Christ on the cross then wasn't saying, "I'm exhausted" or "my life is over." He was declaring in a single breath that the debt was paid, the mission was accomplished, and the sacrifice was accepted. It was a legal, priestly, and definitive declaration. And this is where the most important point of today's video lies. If it is finished, then your main battle, the battle for your acceptance before God, the battle for your worth, the battle for your place in the divine plan, this battle is not ongoing, it has already ended, and it ended with victory. You are not trying to conquer something. You are at this very moment consciously trying to occupy a territory that has been yours for 2,000 years. The difference between conquering and occupying is the difference between exhaustion and rest. You will not work to enter rest, you will rest to enter rest. And this phrase sounds like a paradox, but it's exactly what the author of the letter to the Hebrews writes in chapter 4. And here comes Joshua. Joshua is one of the most misunderstood figures in the Bible, precisely because he appears to be the man of battle, the general, the conqueror. But read the entire book of Joshua carefully. In chapter 21, verse 44, after all the wars it is written, "And the Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had promised to their ancestors. Not one of their enemies withstood them." The Hebrew word used there is from the root of menucha, full rest given by the Lord. And yet centuries later, the author of Hebrews takes this same story and says something surprising. He says that even Joshua couldn't give the people definitive rest. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later of another day. And then comes the leap. There is a rest greater than Joshua's. There is a sabbatismos, a specific Sabbath rest that remains for the people of God, and which can only be entered by those who accept that Christ is the definitive Joshua, the one who truly accomplished everything. You are the people invited to enter this rest. But according to Hebrews 4 verse 11, there is a unique and legitimate effort you need to make, and the author writes this with beautiful theological irony. Let us, therefore, make every effort to enter that rest. The only effort left for you is the effort to stop. The only true combat that remains is the combat against your soul's tendency to want to keep fighting. Does that sound strange? Neuroscience research conducted in partnership between Harvard Medical School and international research centers has shown that brains that have experienced long periods of hypervigilance develop a neurological resistance to a state of calm. The person literally can no longer relax even when conditions allow for it. The body creates an identity around battle, and escaping this identity requires conscious work of unlearning. Here I ask you for something. If you feel this word is for you, write in the comments in capital letters the phrase "I have entered into rest." Don't write it mechanically. Write it as a spiritual declaration, as a milestone, as the point where you decide before God that you accept the victory Christ has already accomplished, and that you will stop trying to conquer by the flesh what is already yours by grace. I read each of these comments, and more importantly, heaven also reads them. Your words spoken matter, and Romans 10, chapter 10, verse 10 is clear. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. Make this confession today. But how in practice do you escape the state of permanent battle and enter the rest that has already been accomplished? It's not with a magic formula. It's not with a specific prayer recited 3 times a day. It's with a process of discernment that involves 4 concrete steps, and He'll give you each of them now. The first step is to make a clear, painful, honest distinction between the battles that were called for your life and the battles you took on yourself. There are real responsibilities. You are responsible for your children. You are responsible for your honest work. You are responsible for the commitments you've made before God and man. These are called battles. But there's also a whole layer of struggles you've embraced without being called. Guilt for things that are not your fault. Obsession with fixing adult people who haven't asked for your help. Constant vigilance over the future that no one has delegated to you. The burden of carrying reputations, expectations, comparisons, others' projections. These are self-assumed battles. And the first thing you need to do is look at your life with brutal honesty and ask, what here is mine? And what did I take on without anyone asking me? There's still a danger on the path, and I need to warn you about it before I continue, so stay with me until the end. The second step is to change the internal vocabulary of your spiritual life. People who live in permanent battle tend to use heavy verbs when they talk to themselves. I have to achieve. I need to prove. I must be. And these verbs shape the nervous system. Studies published in the journal Nature Human Behavior show that the way the brain narrates its own experience physically alters the body's stress response. When you change I have to I am invited to, and when you change I need to prove to, I have already been accepted, your nervous system begins to register a different reality. It's not cheap positivism. It's the practical application of what Paul teaches in Romans 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The Greek word for renewal there is anakenosis, which means renewal from the root, rebuilding the structure, not just changing the thought on the surface. The third step is to introduce into your weekly routine an ancient principle that your urban Brazilian culture has learned to despise: the principle of Shabbat. In the original Hebrew, Shabbat doesn't mean doing nothing. It means deliberately ceasing. It's a conscious decision to stop. And it comes from Genesis 2, chapter 2, verse 2, where it is written that God, on the 7th day, rested from all the work He had done. Notice, God was not tired. God rested as a declaration, not out of necessity. When you set aside a period of your week, it could be a morning, an afternoon, an entire Sunday, to deliberately cease, you are making a theological declaration with your body. You are saying that you trust that the universe will not collapse if you stop, that your value is not in your productivity, that you exist before God even when you are producing nothing. IBGE research indicates that Brazilians over 35 are among the groups least able to practice real rest, even on weekends. The phone screen, family groups, and demands don't stop. Reclaiming Shabbat is an almost revolutionary act today. The fourth step is the most difficult, and that's why I left it for last. It's to discern with wisdom which relationships in your life benefit from your state of permanent battle. And here I ask for care, because this is not an authorization to start cutting people off as if it were a spiritual purge. It's not. There are people in your life who may have learned over the years to relate to you based on your exhaustion, your infinite availability, your inability to say no. And when you start to enter rest, these relationships will feel the impact. Some of these people will adjust over time, with grace, with dialogue. Others will distance themselves. And this is the mature part. You don't need to push anyone away. You just need to stop keeping the door of your exhaustion open. The Federal Council of Psychology has been advising in publications on relational health that setting boundaries is not rejection. It's the foundation for any sustainable relationship. And what applies to psychology also applies to theology. Jesus, in Luke 5 verse 16, would withdraw to the wilderness and pray there. Even Christ withdrew. Even the Son of God created distance. Who are you to feel obligated to be available 24 hours a day to everyone? If this word makes sense to you, share this video with someone you know who is living in a state of permanent battle. It could be a brother, a sister, a friend, a co-worker. We never know who, at this very moment, is under a broom tree like Elijah, with no strength even to get up. And a word at the right time can make the difference between someone continuing to fight a phantom war or finally entering the rest that Christ has already won. And here I need to tell you a scene that perhaps you've never read carefully, but which changes everything. 1 Kings 19. Elijah has just starred in one of the greatest spiritual triumphs in the history of Israel. He alone, against 450 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. Fire came down from heaven. The false prophets were defeated. The victory was total. And shortly after that, Jezebel, the queen, sends a message threatening to kill Elijah. And the man who minutes before had challenged an entire army now flees, crosses the desert, sits under a broom tree and says, "Enough, Lord, take my life." In other words, I can't take it anymore. I have no strength. I want to die. And pay attention to what God does. God doesn't respond with a sermon. God doesn't demand the faith that Elijah had shown hours before. God doesn't say, "Come on, get up. There are more battles ahead." God's first action is to send an angel to bring bread and water. Elijah eats, sleeps, wakes up, eats again, sleeps again. Only after that, after 2 meals and 2 cycles of deep sleep, does God begin to talk to him. And the conversation doesn't happen in the fire, nor in the earthquake, nor in the strong wind. The conversation happens in a gentle whisper. In Hebrew, kvol demama daka, kol demama daka, literally a voice of thin silence. God approaches the exhausted warrior in a whisper, not in an urgent military order. This scene is your scene. You are the Elijah who has won 1,000 battles and who still is under an emotional broom tree, wanting to give up. And the first thing God wants you to understand is that the next mission of your life does not come before your rest, it comes after. Eat, sleep, recover. And when the voice comes, it will come in a whisper, not in an urgent military command. Fiocruz researchers, in studies on the recovery of professionals in a state of burnout, have documented that authentic recovery only begins when the person allows what they call permitted functional regression. Basically, giving oneself permission to stop functioning at high performance for a while. This is not weakness. This is the divine protocol that Elijah received almost 3,000 years ago. Look where you've come. You started this video tired with that exhaustion that seems bottomless, and now, after all we've discussed, you have something different in your hands. You have the distinction between called battles and self-assumed battles. You have the word tetelestai etched into your soul. The victory already paid, already accomplished, already yours. You have Martha's example to recognize when your soul is fragmented by good concerns that have become idols. You have Joshua to understand that rest is a territory to be occupied consciously, not conquered by force. You have Elijah to know that God himself treats exhaustion with bread, with sleep, and with a whisper. And you have the invitation of Hebrews 4 to make every effort to enter that rest. But I must tell you one last truth before I finish. This rest is not a destination you reach and then never leave. It is an inner posture that you relearn every day. There will be days when you fall back into the phantom battle. You'll pick up your phone in the morning, and cortisol will rise before coffee. You'll enter a meeting and your heart will race as if there were a lion in the room. You'll hear bad news and your soul will want to pick up Martha's sword again, want to run, want to serve, want to fix. And in those moments you just need to remember one thing. Tetelestai. It is finished. The main war is over. What remains is just the daily, gentle effort not to fight again a fight that no longer belongs to you. If this video has touched you deeply, I want to let you know something important. Activate the notification bell now, because in the next episode of this series, I will talk specifically about a type of battle that is the most subtle and the most dangerous of all. The battle you fight without realizing it within your own home, with people you love, who, without any malice, were placed in your life to reveal parts of your soul that still needed to be healed. It's a strong, liberating word, and it will shake very old structures within you. I don't want you to miss this video. Activate the bell, be ready. And remember, in the comments, write in capital letters your declaration, I have entered into rest. Not mechanically, as a confession. And receive now from this word that was sown in your heart today, the war is over. The victory is yours. Rest awaits you. Enter. May the peace of Christ, that peace which surpasses all understanding, according to Philippians 4 verse 7, guard your heart and your mind, now and forever. Amen.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.